What's up, everybody? So today I want to talk about my favorite app and settings to make great quality video just using your smartphone.
Hey guys, so today I'm just going to talk about apps and which apps will give you the best quality video on your smartphone. I tried a lot of different things and I've narrowed it down to these three, which is Filmic Pro, Open Camera, and Cinema 4K. Now, Filmic Pro is just a powerhouse of a video creation tool. It's got everything that you could find in all the DSLRs and video cameras out there. Everything from histograms and focus peaking, zebras, to log profiles and the ability to adjust contrast saturation. You've got high frame rates. You can record in high efficiency video codec. You can record at 100 megabits per second, 4K. It is just a really incredible tool, but it's still kinda in beta and it still has some kinks to work out. I may switch over to Filmic Pro, but for right now I still have two other favorites that to me give a better image quality than what you get out of Filmic Pro, even with all those things that Filmic Pro has. So the next is Open Camera, and that is just great because it's free, and it also has tons of features that you can adjust to get exactly what you want out of your video. And my favorite app by far is Cinema 4K. So that's what we're gonna jump in and see all the settings that I use in Cinema 4K to get the best quality video that I can. So let's open it up. First thing that you'll notice is it opens up in this weird cropped and dark version. The only way to fix that is to go into your gallery on the top left and click on that, open up something, and then go back into your camera, and that should fix it. So on the top you'll notice you have the option for a normal color profile or a flat color profile. I always go with the normal color profile because I've done a lot of testing on this and noticed that the normal color profile actually keeps just as much data as the flat color profile, and the flat is harder to work with because it adds a weird greenish blue color tint and it squeezes everything together. In the normal color profile, it may look like some of the highlights are clipped or some of the blacks are crushed or shadows are crushed down the black and clipping the blacks, but you can actually go in after the fact in post and raise some of those up, and you can actually recover a lot of detail in the shadows that you think that you lost. So the color profile for normal is actually pretty powerful, and that's what I use. So to show you what I mean by being able to recover some of this data is take a look at this image that I shot during my intro, and look at my shirt and some of the shadows, how dark everything is. When I originally saw this, I thought, man, I'm gonna have to reshoot this, I underexposed. But then if you look at this shot, I was able to recover almost all of that detail in the shadows, and I think it looks pretty good. So let's go back into the actual settings of the app. It's very important to always use the rear camera, whether you're vlogging or whether you're taking B-roll or interviewing. Always use the rear camera. The front camera on all cell phones are of a much lesser quality. Just please, just always use the rear camera. You don't always need to see yourself. Second thing is, I personally shoot at 30 frames per second. I have had some weird problems with shooting 24 frames per second. I get unnecessarily choppy footage, and sometimes my voice doesn't sync with the footage. I don't know if it's just my phone, but I have a lot of problems with it. So I always shoot at 30 frames per second, which is the native phone frame rate anyway. The next thing is resolution. I always shoot at full resolution, 4K, because even if you don't look at it in 4K, 4K downsampled to 1080p is going to look a lot better and a lot cleaner. My video bit rate, I would not shoot anything less than 100 megabits per second. Yes, it takes up more space, but if your highest priority is quality, then you're going to want to raise this up to 150 or maybe even 200 megabits per second in some instances. I personally don't see much difference between 200 and 150, but I can see a difference between 150 and 100, which is why I personally like Cinema 4K a lot better than Open Camera and Filmic Pro, which even at 100 megabits per second, I still think Cinema 4K does a better job. I have the mic selected as the audio source because I have a Rode Video Micro attached to my phone. I leave the audio bit rate at 256 kilobytes per second. I have my stabilization set to optical only. This app does give you the option to have EIS as well, but I personally don't like it because while it does do a great job of stabilizing your footage, it crops in on the sensor, which means you're going to get less detail and less quality in your final image. And on top of that, at night, if you're shooting in low light, it's going to make your footage so much noisier. So I always have this turned off. So I have other videos on how to keep your footage stable using a stabilizer, and I'm going to come out with one soon about how to do handheld stabilization, but always keep EIS off. I personally don't like it. I personally don't use the flat profile anymore, so I don't worry about those two settings. Noise reduction I do actually use because it is actually pretty good quality on this app. I've tested a lot of different videos with noise reduction on and off, and it has three settings. It has a normal, disabled, and high quality, and I think that the high quality settings is really good. It doesn't degrade the footage, it doesn't make it blurry, it denoises just a tiny bit where it actually has noise, but it doesn't affect the sharpness of the image, at least on my phone. I'm not sure what it does on other phones, but it works really well on mine, so I leave that on, and it does help a lot. Of course, I leave the exposure control on full manual so you have full control of your settings. The next option you have is to auto lock your white balance and exposure when you hit the record button, and that is extremely helpful when you're running and gunning and trying to get daytime B-roll or cinematic shots. It might not be what you want to have selected for vlogging. If I do a vlog and it's going outdoors and indoors and I'm not in one spot, then I would definitely turn this off so that it can auto adjust. But for 95% of the situations, I want this locked down. I don't want the exposure changing. I don't want the white balance changing. It just distracts from the video in general. The next is your display brightness. I have it set to full just because I want to see the brightest image if you're outdoors. That's the only way to really check your exposure. Unfortunately, this app doesn't have any waveform or any way of checking, if your highlights or shadows are clipping. So the only way to do it is with your eyes. The next thing is grid. I have the rule of thirds selected. I don't use any aspect marks, meaning I shoot all my video at 16:9. I don't shoot. If I want to crop it later, I can. The aspect marks just automatically add black bars. I personally don't like that. I have the level enabled, which just tells you whether or not your shot is level. Video orientation, it just flips the video upside down if you're using some type of depth of field adapter, or if you have your camera upside down, like maybe it's attached to a drone or something like that, I don't know. So the last thing that I have set is my storage location. I think it's really nice to be able to consolidate all your videos into one folder or separate them however you want. I personally keep everything in the Filmic Pro folder. I don't know why I chose that, but at least I have all my high quality videos in one spot rather than mixing it up with my kind of auto pictures and videos that I just take with day-to-day life on my normal Google Pixel camera. So on that note, that's it, and I hope to see you guys later. Check out some of my other videos if you want, and subscribe if you want for more tips on how to make good quality video on your cell phone. Alright, peace.